Welcome to Click to Learn More, the show that sounds like clickbait.
But it's actually two dorks.
I'm Lidi.
I'm Dorm.
And tonight, on this rainy, spooky fall evening, it's officially fall now.
Yeah, we're getting Vincent Pricey in here.
We're going to talk about something a little bit spoopy.
Okay.
Imagine this.
Oh, all right. If we are getting very Vincent Pricey.
You're jolted awake. The room is dark. Soft, muted moonlight leaks in through the closed curtains, and at first glance, all seems fine. But something isn't quite right. Your eyes dart around the room, a sense of unease standing your hair on end. Someone's watching you. No, something is watching you. A cold chill runs through your body at the realization. You're frozen in fear. You hear raspy, crackling whispers in a language you don't understand as the figure stalks closer and closer to you. You try to move your arms, kick your legs, scream! But nothing happens. You're held in place, supine and submissive. You struggle to breathe, the crushing weight on your chest getting heavier and heavier with each passing second. The figure looms above you, hot breath on your face as it reaches gnarled fingers towards your vulnerable belly, its two thin lips stretching into a yellow grimace of a smile. With a violent shake, you come to, fully awake and completely safe. We're talking about sleep paralysis.
Holy shit.
And it's terrifying. And I'm so ready to talk about it.
That was very well written, and also I'm very scared.
So there are dreams, there are nightmares, and there's sleep paralysis.
Okay.
There's a very important distinction between each of these things, and we'll talk about, like, how they compare to night terrors and stuff.
Okay.
But first of all, let's talk about sleep paralysis. So globally, there are over 100 words in various languages used to describe sleep paralysis. And some of my references for today are Live Science, Wikipedia, PBS, the Sleep Paralysis Project.org. It has its own project.
The SPP. Yeah, you know me.
You know me. And WebMD. You know me. So, pretty much every culture has a name for sleep paralysis, and many people blame supernatural causes, especially like when it first started happening to people, because you wake up and you see lights or you hear sounds that you don't understand, and you see a creature in the corner, and that's a demon. Has to be, right? It has to be a demon. So a lot of people believe that it was a supernatural cause. And only later did many people think that maybe bad meat or cheap wine might be the cause.
Oh.
So later it was like, because you know that they say, like, if you eat something spicy or if you eat some bad food and you go to sleep, you're going to have nightmares. Like,
I've never heard that.
Really?
No, yeah, so I've never heard any dream thing related to food.
Oh, okay. So when I was a little kid, my mom would say, well, don't eat anything too spicy because you'll have nightmares if you go to bed.
Huh.
Yeah, so like the food can like react in your body and make you have bad dreams or whatever. So
never heard this.
That was apparently the belief in old-timey times when I was a child. Now, when you take into consideration that people can, quote, experience demons, witches, ghosts, aliens, and more, it's easy to see how that belief could be spread. It's easy to see, especially at a time where people believed in religion above all else, rather.
So this is like pre-enlightenment, that kind of stuff? This
is like old school.
Gotcha.
This is what I think a lot of people that say that they were abducted by aliens, I think a lot of those people probably had an instance of sleep paralysis, because a lot of the symptoms are the same, but we'll talk about that a little later. The scariest part of all of this might be that doctors aren't 100% sure what causes it.
Okay.
Nor do they have any concrete way of preventing it.
Okay. I don't like either of those things.
Yeah, they can't. There's nothing currently, as of my time of researching, there's nothing on the market that will stop sleep paralysis. There are just suggestions on what you can do to avoid sleep paralysis.
Okay.
And we also don't know 100% why it happens. We have the bits and pieces of it, but it's kind of in the same vein of like, we don't really know why we dream. Like, scientists think we dream to go back over our day, or like process some stuff that happened to us in our subconscious, and like we think we know why, but we can't say, in the same way that we could say like our heart beats for this reason. Like, we don't know we don't know why we dream, and we don't know why we have sleep paralysis in that same way. Now, by the way, not all episodes of sleep paralysis are terrifying in nature. Like, some people find them fun. Like, there's one sense...
Okay.
One sense of sleep paralysis can make you feel like you're flying.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
And for some people, like, that's cool. Like, they feel like they're flying, and that's, like, a nice thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can just be annoying. So sometimes you wake up, maybe you don't hear or see anything, but you just can't move. And that's just, like, an annoying, frustrating thing. There was one instance that I heard... that I read about, there was this woman that she said that her first experience with sleep paralysis was that she woke up and she heard someone like banging on their front door of their family home. Like, she was young. Yeah. And she was trying to like get out of bed to tell her parents, like, we're gonna get killed and I have to hide and stuff, and she couldn't get up. Jesus. And she was just stuck there, and then she fully came awake and realized that it wasn't happening. That was all in her mind. That is terrifying to me, because that at all. That I'm not a fan of that at all. So, for some background, sleep paralysis is the inability to move or speak right after waking up or in the process of falling asleep. Now, most often it seems to occur when you're waking up. Okay. Which kind of makes sense. I don't know if this is the same thing, but I thought about this today. Do you ever have that sensation sometimes where you're starting to fall asleep, or you're like halfway asleep and it feels like you've fallen really quick?
You
like
catch yourself to wake up.
Like jump.
Yeah, all the time.
So I read once before that if you're like, when you're laying there and your leg will twitch, like just on its own, that's your brain trying to make sure you're still alive. So like, because you're falling asleep and your brain's like, all right, real quick, like, you still there? And if your leg twitches, it's like, all right, cool, you're good. And I don't know if that's real, but I remember reading that and thinking, like, because that's a weird thing. Because I read once before that your brain kind of operates separately from your body sometimes, in the sense that, like, your brain will tell your body what to do, but if you have a fever, your brain will cook itself in the process of trying to kill the virus that's attacking it. So your brain, that's why you have a fever. So that's why you get a fever, because your body temperature rises to try to basically boil the virus. Ugh. So if you don't bring your fever down, or if it doesn't break, your brain will boil itself essentially in the process of trying to stop that. Because it's like, well, if we can't survive it, you're not going to survive it either. So like, we're going out altogether. So that's why you got to try to bring down your fever if it's really bad. Jesus. Yeah. So we're going to learn all kinds of stuff today. Sleep paralysis shouldn't be confused with night terrors. Okay. In fact, they're kind of the opposite. Like, they're kind of complete opposites. And now,
so is a night terror the same thing as a nightmare?
No. Oh, so a night terror is much scarier. Okay. So this is going to be straight from WebMD. Okay. A person experiencing a night terror abruptly wakes from sleep in a terrified state, but is confused and unable to communicate. They do not respond to voices and are difficult to fully awaken. Night terrors last about 15 minutes.
Holy shit.
After which time the person usually lies down and appears to fall back asleep. Oh. People who have night terrors, sometimes called sleep terrors, by the way, usually don't remember the events the next morning. Night terrors are similar to nightmares, but usually occur during deep sleep, like the REM cycle, which we'll talk about a little bit. People experiencing sleep terrors or night terrors may pose dangers to themselves or others because of their limb movements. So they could lash out or attack those around them, thinking, somebody's trying to kill me or whatever. Mike Birbiglia in his... Sleepwalk with Me? Yeah, he talked about how he had thrown himself out of a second floor window. Yeah, because in his dream, he was trying to avoid a homing missile, or like some kind of missile that was coming after him. But in reality, he was sleepwalking, and he threw himself out a window. So it's along the lines of like, but it's completely the opposite. A night terror is completely the opposite in the sense that like you can't move during sleep paralysis, whereas in a night terror, you're flailing around, but you don't remember it. Sleep paralysis, you're wide awake, but your body's not. So it seems to be a flip of the two. Yeah. Which is scary in its own way.
Yeah, both of those are terrifying.
Yeah, I don't like when stuff happens that you can't immediately explain. Yeah. Like, I don't like if my body does something and I'm like, okay, no. I don't like that thing you did that didn't make sense, that I don't understand. I don't like that. Now, many people experience hallucinations such as hearing, seeing, or feeling something that isn't there during sleep paralysis. Also, sleep paralysis can happen to anyone. And it can be an isolated incident. So maybe you've never had sleep issues before.
Oh, no.
You could just randomly have sleep paralysis once.
Oh, great.
Or a couple times. Some people get it all the time. Some people it happens to constantly. Now, figuring out how prevalent sleep paralysis is can be complicated because a variety of studies have looked into the percentage of people who've experienced it or regularly experience it. But the estimates that are reported are anywhere from 5% to 65%. So you can't really trust that because sometimes the studies haven't been the same group across multiple testing groups. The sizes of the groups might have been different.
Sure.
Some studies would take the more at-risk subjects and use those and say, well, of course, 65% of these people had it.
Right.
Whereas you take, a bunch of toddlers and they didn't have it.
Of
so,
course, yeah.
You had some unreliable information there, which is why it's kind of iffy on the percentages.
Sure.
What we do know for sure, however, is that it affects both men and women. And some studies suggest it may affect women more often, as well as those with existing anxiety disorders, depression, and PTSD. That kind of makes sense to me. The PTSD, for whatever reason, kind of makes sense because your body has already experienced some kind of trauma.
Yeah.
And it seems to me that would, by the way, not a doctor, not a scientist, so completely speaking out of my butt.
Yeah.
But that makes sense to me in the sense...
It's very impressive.
Yeah. Wait till you see the video. It makes sense to me in the idea that you would have suffered this trauma and your brain is like, oh, something is happening again.
Yeah.
Like whatever this traumatic thing was that happened is happening again. So it starts to put that in your brain. And that's what you see. According to the Mayo Clinic, this disorder is more likely to happen to people between the ages of 10 and 25. And if someone experiences sleep paralysis without other sleep disorders, like I said, those incidents are referred to as isolated.
Gotcha.
So you could just have a random sleep paralysis episode.
Right.
A study that I read said that it happens a lot to people with anxiety disorders and students, like college students, because college students are super stressed.
Yeah.
They're not getting a lot of sleep.
Right.
They're staying up and they're putting their bodies through a bunch of stuff, and they're kind of going through this really weird moment in their lives where it's like you're partying and you're learning and you're not eating well.
You're learning at parties.
You're learning at parties. You're learning a lot about yourself. You're kind of you're doing a lot to your brain and to your body, and that sometimes doesn't translate well into trying to sleep and be healthy. So
interesting that it was 10 to 25, because isn't that that's all just brain development time, right?
Yeah, so I think that they say your brain doesn't fully develop until you're in your 30s, late 20s, something like that.
28, 32, something like that.
Yeah, so great. I'm glad that it stops at the time when you're drinking the most heavily for those of you in college that want to party. I'm glad that that's when your brain development's happening.
Yeah.
So before those brain cells can be made, they're just getting chopped in half right before they can
just
even
doing
get there.
shots in your head.
Yeah. Now, people who experience sleep paralysis can imagine sounds such as humming, static, zapping, buzzing, hissing, voices, roars, and whispers. That's terrifying to me.
Yeah, I don't like any of those.
One of the main things that freaks me out in horror movies, which I don't like anyway, I don't like that anyway, but I don't like having a whispery sound or little kids laughing specifically. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Long live Pazuzu or whatever.
Yeah, that was his name. Pazuzu.
That's a demon's name. What was that kid's name? Or the demon's name?
I actually don't remember. Payman? It was Payman.
Payman.
I almost went Azazel because of what you said.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I was Binding of Isaac.
Payman.
Pazuzu sounds like a pizza delivery place.
I know.
Like a low rent,
that's
Uber
how I
Eats.
remember it because it sounds really goofy, but it's
Pazuzu pizza.
I'm a Pazuzu. A report in the journal Consciousness and Cognition said that 3 common types of hallucinations among sleep paralysis sufferers exist. These are, in my order, of scariest: intruder, or the feeling that a shadowy figure enters the room, stands in your corner, or lurks outside your window.
It's the Babadook.
That's terrifying. Yeah. I don't like the idea of anybody being in your home in general.
Uninvited.
Or
no, you just mean ever.
I mean ever, honestly. If it's not me or my cat, get out. But yeah, I don't like the idea of someone being in your home uninvited. And I specifically don't like the idea that you can't move as that person's there.
That's absolutely terrifying. I think I've said terrifying like 10 times, but I don't know another word.
Second is incubus, or the difficulty to breathe because Brandon Boyd is sitting on your chest.
Okay, thank you. I was like, is that where the name incubus comes from?
So incubus and succubus. So you know what a succubus is?
Yeah.
The incubus is a male version of that.
Oh.
So an incubus is just a male succubus.
I didn't know that.
Well, they suck your life force, and if you're lucky, no, I'm just kidding. But they,
Jesus.
No, he's not involved. But they do suck your life force out of you
Through boning.
through your wiener.
Through your wiener?
We don't have to talk about that now.
Okay.
And the third one is quote unusual bodily experiences.
Oh. Nope.
End quote. Or the feeling of being dragged from your bed, falling, flying, going numb, or floating.
Okay. Not shitting yourself, which is the way I thought that was going to go.
No.
What else is an unusual body experience?
So it can feel like someone standing next to you, like lifting your arm up without you doing it.
Oh, I don't like that
like
at all.
touching your arm or leg, like move. Okay, so you know how little kids, like, if you got one leg out from under the blankets, that's the leg that's going to get eaten by the monster. Or like if anything's hanging down off the side of the bed, that's what's going to get eaten by the monster. So it's kind of that idea. It's like if something, it kind of follows you over into sleep paralysis. If something touches that leg or touches that arm, that's what you're feeling in your sleep paralysis land. I don't like the idea of flying. Another instance of sleep paralysis that I read about, they said that they had sleep paralysis and felt like they were flying, but they couldn't control it.
Oh, geez.
Like, it was just going faster and faster.
Like you were being hurled out of something.
Yeah, and they couldn't stop it, and that was terrifying for them, obviously, because I don't like anything where I don't have control over the situation, and that's...
You never.
I know, right? But that was... Yeah, no. So it was described as like a full body, like when your limb goes to sleep, and you get that tingle and that, like that.
That's the idea of that
like
happening.
I gotta shake it to wake it up. Like that's a full body like numbness in that tingly kind of, not a good tingle, not an ASMR tingly, but like an ouch, this hurts.
I've lost circulation tingly.
This hurts, chop off my arm.
Yeah.
Because it hurts so bad kind of tingly.
Jesus.
Yeah. So no, not a fan of any of those.
I'm gonna veto that one.
By the way, have you ever had sleep paralysis? Has that ever happened to you?
This is maybe the least I've known about a topic coming in. Maybe cryptids I might have known less about, but I've never heard of this happening really.
Ooh.
The only thing I can think of, and I don't remember the name of the movie.
Okay.
But there was I think Ashton Kutcher movie where he was awake on like an anesthesia table. But he didn't fall asleep. Was it called Awake?
Was this the eye thing?
Maybe. I don't remember.
It was like Jessica Alba in The Eye.
Oh yeah, I do remember that film too, but I think they're different movies.
Okay.
But they might be the same movie. I don't know. I was like, this is a vague, I remember the trailer when I was like 14 kind of thing.
Butterfly Effect.
It wasn't Butterfly Effect, which is why
Dude, Where's My Car?
Yes, it actually was Dude, Where's My Car? That was all...
My Boss's Daughter.
How many more you got?
How many more did he do?
Was My Boss's Daughter the one with Brittany Murphy in it?
No.
What was the movie with him and Brittany Murphy together?
Was that her? Was that My Boss's Daughter? Was that Brittany Murphy?
Ashton Kutcher and Brittany Murphy were together in a movie. I'm pretty sure.
Were they?
I think so.
No, Boss's Daughter was Tara Reid.
Oh, that's who it was. I flipped them. Yeah, you're right.
That was Tara Reid.
Absolutely Tara
Because I was like...
Why have I seen that movie?
I don't know. Why do I know that?
You're absolutely right. It wasn't Brittany Murphy.
Why do I know that Tara... By the way, so I was going to tell a story about her. I don't know if it's in poor taste. I saw her at a local Comic-Con like 4 years ago or something.
Oh, you legitimately saw her?
I saw her in like real life. She showed up to do like Sharknado 17 press or whatever. Because Vern Troyer was also there. Oh. Because he was in his little cart and he had a flag so nobody would step on him. And that's not... I'm not trying to be mean. Like that was legit. Like he had a little flag so that people wouldn't like trip over him and stuff. But she looked like a leather suitcase. She...
Yogi Bear's glove.
Listen... Yogi Bear had picnic baskets.
Nope, that was Yogi Bear. This is Yogi Berra.
I knew that.
So sleep paralysis.
She looked like a picnic basket.
Take it real quick. Remember when she had...
I know.
I don't know if this is all going to get cut or none of it is.
She had a show called Paradise. Didn't
she? She did. Yeah, you're right.
On like E?
Showtime? Oh,
something?
No. You might be right. Do you remember when she had... her whole boob fall out of that dress?
And she had no idea.
It wasn't a nip slip. Literally, her whole boob was out.
And everybody started taking pictures, and she started like primping. Like
there.
She was like, "Oh my gosh,
everybody's taking pics of me. What's up?
People want to see me. Hello!" And her whole titty, just out.
It wasn't a nip slip. It was a tit slip.
Oof, yeah.
It all came out.
Oof, it did. I feel bad for talking bad about Tara Reid. I'm sorry, Tara Reid. I'm sure you're doing great. Stay
she has more money than me.
Stay out of the sun.
You've reached your quota.
You've done enough. She was like a human raisin. I didn't stand in line to get a picture of her. This was me from literally like 100 yards away, still being able to tell.
Oh God, a football field away.
Did she look like a football? So it was like I could have done a touchdown with her from where I stood, just looking at her.
Good football reference.
I could have field goaled her.
Yep. Could have filled her goals.
Many people already have.
No.
Probably Ashton Kutcher. Okay. Back to sleep paralysis.
Yeah.
Now, this is a side note. I thought
this whole thing was a side note.
No, this is a good one.
Note.
No, this is a good one.
All right.
This was a good. I chose this specifically to tell you because I thought you'd think this was funny.
Okay.
So, have you ever been doing?
have you ever been that you tried to date? You're gonna make love to you. Is that what you did too in your head?
Yeah, I'm not. Okay. We're not gonna talk about it. Have you ever done like a repetitive task over and over and over again to the point where if you stand up or walk away from it, it feels weird, like you're supposed to still be doing that thing that you were doing? Mm-hmm. So
Guitar Hero.
Okay, sure. Let's say that. So people who have spent a long time at some repetitive activity before sleep, in particular one that's new to them, may find that it dominates their imagery as they grow drowsy. And this is a tendency that's dubbed the Tetris effect.
Oh, right, which is what the game is named after.
So they
just released a game called the Tetris effect.
The Tetris effect is not confined to visual imagery, but can manifest in other ways as well. So, for example, there was a rock climber who recounted having experienced the touch of rocks as he was falling asleep after a day of climbing rocks. So as he was falling asleep, he was remembering the tactile experience of like holding onto a rock because he had been doing it literally all day. So he had that feeling in his mind as he started to go to sleep. Like, oh, I'm climbing rocks right now.
Yeah.
He was in a bed. He wasn't. But that's the Tetris effect, which is a super weird thing.
By the way, if you haven't seen the initial trailer for the Tetris effect, it actually explains what that is.
Oh, really? That's cool.
Yeah. It's a phenomenal trailer for a Tetris game. It's really cool. I suggest you watch it.
I didn't know there was going to be another Tetris game.
Yeah, so I think it either just came out or is about to come out, and it's like directed by a dude who did...
Wait, why is a Tetris game being directed by somebody?
Well, somebody's got to make it. Like, he's the game director.
It's a bunch of blocks and you shove them...
It's all different stuff now.
I don't know. I don't like that.
Well, it's still Tetris, but it looks different.
No.
Visually different.
No.
Anyway, it's made by the dude who made Luminous, which is like a very popular puzzle game. And, like, nobody knew. It was revealed at E3? It's some game thing. And
some guy in a curtain was like, "Hey kid, come here."
He held it up on a phone in front of the camera.
You've heard of Tetris?
But nobody knew it was going to be a Tetris game. I was like, what is this new puzzle game from this dude who did Luminous?
Did they flip out?
Oh, like, it got a really positive reaction on Twitter and stuff, yeah.
Could you imagine?
It was cool.
Like,
it's a really cool trailer.
I played Tetris on my original Game Boy.
Oh, hell yeah.
Like, when it was, like, gray.
And black, yeah.
It was just, like, gray at night, and you had to hold a flashlight over in your teeth to play it.
Did you have the little light that came over top of it?
No, I did when I had my Advance. I had that, and then I had an SP.
Oh, the laptop one.
The little brick one that opened up. I had one of those. I'd never had a Game Boy Color.
Oh, I did.
I never had one of those.
Great, baby.
What was the one that could also take the pictures? Was that... Because it was a...
Advance?
Was it Advance? It was a Pokemon game that you could, like, hook up a little printer to, and it would print, like, little pictures, stickers or something.
Yeah, and you could take, like, selfies with it. That might have been the original Game Boy.
I don't know, because I never played Pokemon on a
Hell yeah, I did.
On a handheld, so...
What else would I play on my grape Game Boy Color?
Oh my god, he's so proud of himself. My Advance was purple, I think. And that was the one that was shaped like a weird, like...
Yeah, like a PSP almost.
Yeah. It was shaped like a weird thing. Okay. Anyways. So, talking about the Tetris effect, it's the same kind of feeling I imagine of, like, if you're walking on a treadmill for a while, and then you step off of it, and you try, and you're like, whoa, everything's still now, it's supposed to be moving. Or if you rollerblade or ice skate.
Or if you're on a boat. Sea legs.
Yeah. If you, like, roller coasters, stuff like that. If you're doing something movement-wise, and then you stop doing it all of a sudden, it feels like you should still be doing that thing. That's what I imagine it's like. I've never experienced that, but we're going to go... What's going to happen? I'm going to go home. Mm-hmm. Each of us is going to go sleep. We're going to wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, the witching hour, and we're going to have sleep paralysis, and the podcast is canceled.
Yeah, and we're done.
We've officially...
Click to learn over.
We've officially... We're not careful where we clicked.
Click to learn no more.
Click to stop learning. Click to pause.
Don't click.
Click to stop. Anyway. It literally says anyway in my notes, because I figured we'd go off track. Anyway, some people are so afraid of their sleep paralysis, they avoid sleep as much as possible.
Oh, God.
So they just won't sleep.
I do that naturally, but...
They just won't sleep because they're scared to go to sleep because of the sleep paralysis. That's kind of sad. Like, I feel like that's a sad thing, especially because doctors don't know what causes it and don't have, like, a solid way of fixing it. So that's a sad thing. Yeah, it's kind of sad. Which, in turn, ironically and sadly, can actually make sleep paralysis worse.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, so a lot of people that are afraid to go to sleep when they eventually do go to sleep, because you have to go to sleep at some point.
Yeah, of course.
Because you can die if you don't go to sleep. Once you eventually do go to sleep, it can be worse. Mm. It can be that much worse on you. Others are scared to admit or speak about their experiences with sleep paralysis because they're afraid of being labeled as crazy based on what they saw.
Makes sense.
So, if you go to sleep, you have sleep paralysis, you dream that little Martians take you up in their spaceship and you've been abducted.
Right.
If you're a believer of that already, you're like, whoa, holy crap, I was definitely just taken by aliens. If you're not, you're like, well, I can't tell anybody this because I'm going to sound like a crazy person.
Yeah.
So now you're kind of like living with that on your own, which is stressful enough as it is.
Sure.
And then if this keeps happening to you continuously, if you keep having these episodes of sleep paralysis where this just gets worse and worse because your anxiety is like notched up every single time you think about it, you know, nobody's going to talk about that. And so it can't get better, which is a lot of the reason that scientists think that we don't have more information about sleep paralysis is because a lot of people just don't talk about it because they're either scared of their own experiences or they're embarrassed by them.
Gotcha.
So they just don't talk about them. So then we don't have as much evidence and we don't have as much information about them. So I think that's sad. Brandon Tan, a New York City-based writer, offered a first-hand account of his own experience with sleep paralysis.
Okay.
Quote,
"Oh no.
I just kept hearing really mischievous giggling and really creepy screaming," he says. "And it felt like there were really strong gusts of wind in my room, but the window was completely shut." Nope. Editor's note. Nope. No. If I ever... Listen, I live on, like, one of the highest floors of my building. Mm-hmm. If I woke up and heard mischievous giggling in my living room, bye.
You're out.
I'm done. I'm gonna make a rope out of my sheets.
Jesus.
I'm gone. I'm gone. I would rather pop out my window than get killed by some ghost in the kitchen that's giggling about the idea of skinning me. That's what I imagine it's doing.
Then the ghost can wear your skin and pretend to be you.
And then the ghost is going to wear my skin and pretend to be me, which definitely hasn't already happened. So a couple of people that listen to the podcast have experienced sleep paralysis before.
Oh, okay.
J-Lap's talked about it before. He's dealt with some... I'm not going to tell his story for him.
Sure.
Because it's his story to tell. But he's experienced some stuff, like he's heard audio-based stuff. And we talked about this once before because Mary said that he experienced sleep paralysis because I got this frantic text from him at like 4 o'clock in the morning or something. And he was like, I just need to tell you what happened to me. And I was like, what is going on? And it was like
strange.
3 paragraphs of how he was at a hotel and someone, like some creepy dude was in his room. And I was like, what are you talking about? Call the police. He was like, oh no, it was a dream. I was like, you idiot.
Jesus.
He made me so mad because I thought it was legit. And anyway. But yeah, so there are people that we know that have suffered from it and have been through it. And I know that J-Lap has like a pretty like go kind of life because he's always traveling all over the place. And I think that is a part that could cause it, which is unfortunate. Sorry, J-Lap, I love you.
We love you, J-Lap.
We love you. So what causes sleep paralysis? I'll tell you. Sleep paralysis...
I've learned not to answer them anymore. There's going to be one day you're going to actually pitch it.
And you're going to be like, actually...
Yeah, and I'm going to either jump in or you're just going to you're bait and switching me and you're just going to wait for me to answer.
You did that to me.
I know. To get ahead of you.
It is time for me to do that to you, I guess. Sleep paralysis is a parasomnia, which is part of a category of sleep disorders, and is believed to be brought on due to two parts of the brain. So we got the parietal lobe and the temporal lobe. So when these misfire, usually because of a dysfunction during REM sleep, your brain wakes up but your body doesn't.
Ooh.
Now, some studies suggest that a similar method is to blame for sweepwalking and sweep talking.
I'm sweepwalking here.
I'm sweepwalking here. Get out of here. I want a cup of coffee.
This accent has been all over the world for a second.
I feel like Rosie Perez for a second.
In Double Jeopardy?
I don't know.
Or no, wait. She was on Double Jeopardy in White Men Can't Jump. That was the movie I was trying to reference. Sorry.
Oh.
No, there is a movie called Double Jeopardy, but I meant White Men Can't Jump, which is a fantastic movie. Spoiler alert, he never dunks.
That's because he can't jump.
He's a white dude.
He can't jump. So, I'm going to read that part again. Some studies suggest that a similar method is to blame for sleepwalking and sleep talking.
Now, I do have some experience with sleepwalking.
Yeah.
Not personally.
Yeah.
But my roommate slept. Okay, we had a long discussion about this.
Sleptwalk?
Is it sleptwalk or sleepwalked or sleptwalked? I'm assuming it's sleepwalked.
I would say sleepwalked.
It's the passersby thing.
Because sleepwalking.
Right. But
and
did he...
If you're not careful, you're going to sleepwalk.
Right. But did he
sleptwalk? I don't know.
Anyway.
Dram.
Yeah. Drum.
Dreamt. Drum.
So he has sleepwalked multiple times. He's never done it here to my knowledge.
You're going to wake up tonight. He's just going to be standing over you.
Just breathing.
Oh God, it happens every night. You're just not aware of it.
Oh God.
He pulled your drawer out.
Oh no.
In your room.
That's a reference only you will get.
I know.
Anyway.
It's spooky.
That was spooky. But he's we've gone to like different vacation spots, like a hotel or a lake house, and it's always when he's unfamiliar with the settings.
Yeah.
And so like I'll tell this very quick story. One time we were at the lake and he got up in the middle of the night, came into the bedroom. He was on the couch. I came into the bedroom I was sleeping on a twin bed, got in bed with me. I woke him up, which I know you're not supposed to wake up a sleepwalker, but he was asleep again.
I think that's a myth.
Is it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, that was fine. He's fine anyway. But I woke him up. I was like, "What are you doing here?" And he was like, "This is my bed." I was like, "No, this is my bed. You walked in here." And he's like, "Get out of my bed." I was like, "No." And the funny thing is, I was fine with him being there until he took the covers, and then that pissed me off.
Right, that made you mad.
We can cuddle, that's fine, but just give me the covers back.
Cuddle, that's fine.
But then he was like, where's my charger? I was like, where you fell asleep. So
in the other room.
Eventually convinced him to go back. But yeah, he's sleepwalked a number of times around, probably like 5 or 6 times now at this point.
Wow.
So,
that's weird.
It's always funny.
That's creepy. That's like a creepy thing.
He once poured a bottle of water on my best friend's TV, and his PS4 was there and stuff, and didn't break anything.
I remember you saying that. That's terrifying.
Sleepwalking's no joke.
I've had a bout of sleepwalking happen at least once that I know of, and I only know of it because my mom told me. And I think I've told this story on stream before, so I'll say it quickly here. But my mom was getting ready for bed. I had already gone to sleep. I was maybe like, I don't know. I was still in my teens, so it was probably 1920s.
I knew you were gonna make that exact joke. I even knew you were gonna say that.
And because I was still living at home, and my mom was getting ready for bed, and she said that she was like brushing her teeth or washing her face or something. I think she was washing her face, and you get that feeling that somebody's looking at you, and she just got that feeling, which by the way is the creepiest feeling. If you're like washing your face and you can't, especially with somebody who like wears glasses or contacts. If I don't have my glasses on and I feel like somebody's looking at, it's normally Harvey, but if I feel like somebody's staring at me. I'm like, nope, no, I shut and lock all the doors before I wash my face because of that very reason. Anyway, she's getting ready for bed, just washing her face, and she feels somebody staring at her, and she looks back, and I'm standing in the doorway of the bathroom just staring at her, and she says, "What are you doing, sweetheart? Go back to bed." And I just turn around and walk away, and I just go sit on the edge of her bed, but I'm not facing her.
Yeah.
This is all the setup to a horror movie, by the way.
Yeah, this sounds like
this is a child that's been possessed. Don't talk to this
like
child.
The Conjuring.
Like, I was possessed at this point. It was the exorcism.
Right.
So, like, sitting on the edge of the bed, and she, like, walks up behind me, and she's like, "What's the matter?" Because I'm not talking, and she thinks, like, something's wrong with me.
Yeah.
And she touches my shoulder, and I scream, "No!" and throw my arm back and fall off the edge of the bed. And I woke up halfway to the floor because I remember looking up, and she was reaching down to grab me, and I thought, what's she doing? And then I hit the floor and I went, ow. And she was like, what are you doing? And I was like, what are you talking about? I don't know.
Yeah.
This was at home. Like, that's so
freaky.
Yeah. I don't remember it. I remember waking up on the floor and then my mom bought a headboard and footboard for her bed because she was afraid that I was going to fall off her bed again, I guess.
I've heard that story a couple times, and every time it freaks me out. I don't like the idea of it.
Yeah.
I don't like the idea of waking up falling. That's freaky.
Yeah. I remember, like, thinking... I remember thinking something's not right. Yeah. Like, something feels wrong. And then I hit my shoulder. I hit the ground, hit my shoulder. And I remember saying, ow. And she was like, you were talking to me and moving around. I was like, no, I wasn't. I was asleep. And I've talked about this too before, I think. But I dated a guy who would talk in his sleep, laugh in his sleep.
That's so creepy.
Like, he would giggle.
Way creepier than talking.
He would giggle in his sleep. And I woke myself up one night because we were having a conversation in our sleeps. And we were talking to each other. And I woke myself up answering him. Jesus. Because I woke up and I, like, looked around and he was still talking in his sleep. So I was like, we were having I don't shut up even when I'm sleeping. So we were having a full conversation asleep. That's weird. I don't like when stuff like that happens. Like, I don't like when you can't. When I'm not in control of my dumb mouth, I'm barely in control of it as it is. I don't need.
The only thing close to that I've done is I've woken up in the ground in pain, as if I've like fallen out of bed, but I've never woken up mid fall. Like,
gotcha.
I notoriously will throw everything around me, and it's not like an act of throwing. I think it's just me like clearing out, like if you're familiar with basketball.
I've never seen that happen, but I have seen the after effects of it because we both fell asleep on your couch once watching something on TV, and I woke up and you were halfway in the floor and you had thrown your hat because it was completely across the room, and I just remember thinking like, huh, and I just went back to sleep. But I remember, and then you said the other day you fell asleep on your couch and you came back downstairs and your pillow was like all the way in the floor and then there was stuff all over the floor, and I was like, it didn't look like that when I left.
I'm a messy sleeper, I guess. But
that's weird.
I've found that I'm like, it only happens every now and then, so it must be like either I'm really hot or restless or something.
You're just shoving stuff out of the way.
Yeah, I'm always just like clearing out. It's like pillows will be on the other side of my room because I'm just like,
I don't want this thing on me.
Swam out of it. Yeah.
Swam out of it. Back to sleep paralysis.
Yes.
Again, we're getting off track a little bit, but it's sleep related.
It's all
except for Tara Reid. She'll give you nightmares, so I guess that's sleep related.
But she sleeps a lot.
Well, yeah, with a lot of different people. Other risk factors for sleep paralysis.
Huh. Pass out.
Dark.
Yeah.
Other risk factors for sleep paralysis include sleep apnea, sleep deprivation, even due to jet lag. So even jet lag can cause sleep paralysis, narcolepsy, and even alcohol use. So extended, like alcohol abuse or like abusing pills or abusing something like that can cause sleep paralysis as well. Yeah,
another reason not to do any of those things.
Right. Yeah.
Including fly.
Yeah, don't ever fly. It's bad for you. Often it occurs when people sleep on their backs. So on their back is considered the supine position, and on your front is considered prone. So
I'm a prone sleeper myself.
So I'm a supine sleeper. So
you sleep on your back?
I normally do. I normally sleep on my back because Harvey sleeps on my chest.
Oh right, yeah.
Or she'll sleep on my side she'll push me over so that I lay on my back so she can lay right on top of me and smother me. But yeah, like normally I sleep on my back. So this is gonna be a super fun dream tonight when I have a bunch of sleep paralysis. For real though, if I have sleep paralysis tonight, that'd be kind of cool. Because I've been talking about it.
It would have been cool. It would almost have been cooler if you had it last night. And then could come in fresh and hot talking about it.
Well, if it happens tonight, I will never stop talking about it because I'll be...
You'll hear about it on the podcast
You'll hear me in real life screaming across the entire
Wherever
planet.
you are.
No matter where you are, I'll be screaming across the planet because that's terrifying.
That one listener in Brazil who dumped us last week comes back just
because he hears the scream.
Yeah.
It's like, she's done it. Studies found
whatever that is in Portuguese. They could be bilingual, I guess.
Yeah.
Speak English.
Yeah, come on. It's 2018, Dorm. God.
That's Brazil's native tongue. That's not a...
God, Dorm.
How is that derogatory?
I'm sorry.
Anyway?
I'm sorry for his actions, guys. Studies found that individuals who experience sleep paralysis have shorter microstype, sleep cycles
Fuck
than
off.
normal.
You asshole. You're so lucky. I know who Michael Stipe is.
If you don't know,
he's the lead singer of REM. But dang it. You just you did it so smoothly.
I was trying really hard to get the words out without giggling because I thought I was going to give it away. We'll say it again for those of you in the back.
Oh,
studies found that individuals who experience sleep paralysis have shorter REM sleep cycles than normal, and I said Michael Stipe because he's the lead singer of REM. A sleep cycle typically lasts 1 to 2 hours, and during this time, our brains go through 5 stages, which I didn't know. This is all new information for me. I didn't know my brain could go through 1 stage, let alone 5. The first 4 make up NREM sleep, or non-rapid eye movement sleep. The last stage, occurring about 90 minutes into a sleep cycle, is REM, or rapid eye movement. And that's the one you hear about in school, right? Like, that's the one you always hear about, like, that's when you dream and stuff like that.
Right.
So this is when the brain's most active. That's when you have your most vivid dreams. And it's also when sleep paralysis kicks in. So that's unsettling because your body is at the deepest sleep that it can have. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, whoop, your eyes are open and you can't move. But your brain is still running with that vivid imagination.
Oh, I hate the idea of this so much.
With the dreams that you were just about to have or were maybe in the middle of. And now
this freaks me out.
You're stuck and you can't move. Like that, I don't like that. Some studies support the observation that disturbance of regular sleeping patterns can instigate an episode of sleep paralysis because fragmentation of REM sleep commonly occurs when sleep patterns are disrupted. So that makes sense. Yeah. This is why many people report instances of sleep paralysis when they're staying in new places or experiencing new stimuli in their surroundings. They can't properly rest since their brains are still taking in new information around them. So you're in a new place, you're in a hotel room, you're staying at a buddy's house, whatever. Right. It's new sounds, new experiences, and your brain's trying to take it all in, but your body's ready to go to sleep, but your brain's still awake. So it's this whole, like, no, we're still absorbing this information. We're going to pop back up and wake up in a minute. Yeah. During normal REM sleep, the threshold for a stimulus to cause wakefulness is greatly elevated. Now, in individuals with sleep paralysis, there's almost no blocking of that stimuli, meaning it's easier to wake the individual. So, whereas, like, I sleep like the dead when I'm out. Yeah. And it takes a lot to wake me up. Same. It doesn't take a lot to wake up people who normally have sleep paralysis or have experienced sleep paralysis. They can wake up pretty easily. Now, during REM sleep, our body inhibits the use of its motor neurons, which suppresses signals that normally would produce skeletal muscle movement, which effectively immobilizes the body. This is why you can't move, because your body is trying to stop sleepwalking. And stop, like, your body's trying to stop you from acting out the things that you're doing in your dreams. So to do that, your body basically, your brain paralyzes you, essentially, as you sleep. Now, when you're asleep, you're not aware of this. Sure, of course. You're not aware that it's going on. But
I am now.
But when you're experiencing sleep paralysis, you have to face the facts, and it's not great. Now, oddly enough, it's believed that sleep paralysis could be genetic. Okay. Twin studies have shown that if one twin of a monozygotic pair, or identical twins,
same zygote,
experiences sleep paralysis, that other twins very likely to experience it as well. So it could be some genetic-based thing. Again, we don't really know. Yeah. Not really sure. Researchers examine this genetic link more closely by looking at variants of a gene that's involved in control of circadian rhythms, which is the 24-hour biological rhythms that help govern sleep-wake cycles. So if you've ever done, like Dorm and I have done, where you stay up literally 24 hours to try to reset your sleep schedule, we're trying to reset that circadian rhythm.
Sure, that's what I always say.
And try to get it back to where, like...
That's my excuse.
The idea is that you wake up when the sun comes up and you go to sleep when the sun goes down. That's what's supposed to happen. But people who are on, like, third shift or second shift of jobs that have to go into work at 3 a.m. and then are getting off work at, 6 a.m. or not 6 a.m., but, like, getting off work at noon. Right. And then coming home and trying to go to sleep. That's their nighttime, essentially. So they have to reset that clock and kind of, like, change that up for themselves. I already said that. The researchers discovered that people with certain variations of the PER2 gene, or the period circadian regulator 2 gene, are more likely to have experienced sleep paralysis. So there's a certain gene that could cause this to mess up.
Interesting.
I also read somewhere that people who suffer from sleep paralysis on a regular basis, like every night kind of thing, are also more susceptible for getting or for developing like Parkinson's disease and like neurological development, like like having some kind of issues with the neurological systems. I don't know why, and science doesn't know why, but a couple of the studies, and again, the studies weren't very, like, they weren't held very well, so we don't know the percentage of people that actually have sleep paralysis.
Sure.
Definitively anyway. But it said that they've seen an increase in people who have had sleep paralysis have neurological issues later on in life. I just thought that was interesting. It's an interesting thing. Maybe that could help stop, like, maybe we could use that information to help figure out what's going on so we can stop that from happening. Now, when it comes to treatment, like we said, there's not a lot of options. For adults, getting less than 7 to 8 hours of sleep is associated with a number of physical and mental health deficits. And this is great, because the last time that I had 7 to 8 hours of sleep when I should have been asleep, oh God, probably 67? Like probably high school, legit, like probably high school, like from college on to now, like there's no, I mean, on the weekends I'll sleep 7 to 8 hours or more,
right? But
that's because I can.
Yeah, you're catching up.
Yeah, and that's not, going to bed at 11 and waking up at 7. That's, going to bed at 4 o'clock in the morning and waking up at 2 p.m.
Right, yeah.
Which is screwing up, like we said, it's already screwing up your rhythm all over again. So, as an adult, that's such a novelty. 7 to 8 hours of sleep. That's so cute.
Yeah.
That's so cute. An important thing to be aware of is that the condition is common, meaning sleep paralysis.
Yes.
And generally it's not too serious. So normally your general practitioner is not going to be super concerned with you saying that you suffer from sleep paralysis unless it starts to affect your everyday life. Like if it starts to like really mess with your body and with your work and with stuff like that, like that's when they'll prescribe you something. Behavioral therapy, antidepressants, and something called sleep hygiene are efforts that can treat sleep paralysis as well. Now, sleep hygiene was developed in the late 1970s as a method to help people with insomnia, but the evidence was found to be, quote, limited and inconclusive as of 2014. So sleep hygiene was basically nonsense. So sleep hygiene was, here's a list of all these things that you should do that will determine whether or not you get good sleep.
Okay.
You're not going to be, and right, spoiler alert, you're not going to be able to hit all of them. And I'll tell you what they are.
Yeah,
so this
please
is going to be straight from Wikipedia, so take it with a grain of salt. Sleep hygiene recommendations include establishing a regular sleep schedule, using naps with care, not exercising physically or mentally too close to bedtime, limiting worry, limiting exposure to light in the hours before sleep, getting out of bed if sleep does not come, not using bed for anything but sleep and sex, avoiding alcohol as well as nicotine, caffeine, and other stimulants in the hours before bedtime, and having a peaceful, comfortable, and dark sleep environment. If you can do all of those, congratulations, you're a robot. Like, what's it like to be an android?
Yeah,
is
how
it
do you
fun?
enjoy that awesome life?
Is it fun? It must be great. Like, I can do I can do 2 of those. I can not do any physical activity before bed. Done.
Check. Yeah.
Done. Do that all the time.
I don't do it after bed either.
And I can make sure that I have a comfortable and dark sleep environment because I have curtains on all my windows. But, like, that's it. I'm not going to limit worry. Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let me
1970s. 1970s trying to tell us not to take any stimulants before bed. Really? Yeah. Okay. All right.
They're too busy discoing.
That's what they were doing. And now, unfortunately, in order to wake up from a sleep paralysis episode, you usually just have to wait it out.
Ugh.
Like, you don't really get to, because, like, have you ever had a dream where you know you're dreaming?
No, I've never had a lucid dream.
Really? So, that we'll have to talk about that, too, because that's kind of different in a way.
Sorry.
No, you're fine.
I've never had a dream where I knew it was a dream.
So, lucid dreaming is super cool. We'll have to talk about that sometime. I've had dreams before where I couldn't control anything that was happening, but I knew that it was a dream. So I've been like in a dream when I've looked around and thought, I'm asleep. Like, this is a dream. And then it's like shot me out of it.
Whoa,
and
that's weird.
And like woken me up, right?
An inception moment.
Yeah, basically. Like, it felt like that. And now I've had dreams where like I'm being chased or like something really scary is happening. And in the dream, I'm like, it's just a dream, it's just a dream, it's just a dream. And then I wake up and I'm like cold sweat and like,
that's weird.
And like nervous and stuff. But then I'm like, okay, check my pulse because my heart's beating out of my chest, but it was just a dream. It's cool. Like, but in my dream, I'm aware that it's a dream. I just have to get the kick to knock myself out of it. Yeah. Super weird. It's super weird when stuff like that happens.
I guess nothing happens to me when I sleep. Like I hardly...
you sleep so hard maybe you just don't, you're not aware of it.
I hardly ever dream. Like I dream maybe once a month.
Wow.
Maybe.
Do you have nightmare dreams?
Hardly
or is it just...
ever have nightmares.
Okay. Well, that's good then.
Yeah, but I just don't...
Or if you do dream, you don't remember them maybe?
Yeah.
Huh. Have you ever had like a really good dream that you wanted to like?
Oh yeah, for sure. You want to fall back asleep and get back into
and you
it?
never can.
No,
you can fall back asleep
like,
and
oh shit,
you can jump directly back into a nightmare where somebody's coming in. Well, I've fallen asleep and gone back into nightmares before.
Oh jeez.
Yeah, like woken up from a nightmare and been like, and fallen back asleep and gone right back into it where I dropped off. Yeah, not great. And mom and I talked about that once, and she was like, you can never go back into a dream where you're like looking at a cute boy. You have to go, and I'm like, no, stop. I don't.
Looking at a cute boy.
My mom talking about looking at cute boys is a nightmare for me anyway, so it's a nightmare in and of itself. A researcher at Cambridge University's Department of Psychiatry proposed a meditation-based approach to waking up from sleep paralysis intended to help ease the fear and discomfort during an episode. So there's 4 steps to it. So if you do suffer from sleep paralysis, and if you're aware that it's happening to you, maybe you could try these. Maybe they'll work for you. I don't know. They said that it works differently for everybody. So maybe it'll work. Maybe it won't. So the most important thing he said to do is to tell yourself that what's happening to you is common. So to take, I guess, not take responsibility for it, but like to take it into account that like this is a common thing. This is totally normal. This happens to a lot of people.
Right.
This is fine. Like reassuring yourself, I guess. 2 is to remind yourself there's no reason to be afraid. So whatever is actually happening around you is not actually happening around you. 3 is to focus on something besides the sleep paralysis. Like think of something happy. Like think of a happy memory or think of... They say to use meditation, like to put yourself in another place. Maybe a happy memory, something like that instead. And 4, try to relax your body and ignore the urge to attempt to move.
Oh, jeez.
So a lot of people can like pull muscles or hurt their nerve endings or hurt their joints because they're like trying to move, but you're pulling against, because what I read said that when you have sleep paralysis, it's mostly like in your chest and in the trunk of your body and in like your head and your neck. Like, and you can't move your legs and stuff, of course, but like you can move your fingers and toes normally. So like that's almost worse to me. Like being able to move part of you, but not all of you. Like that upsets me. Other people suggest focusing on moving a finger or a toe. Like I think Kill Bill when she's trying to get, she's in the truck trying to get her toe to move. Scrunching up your face, like because you can still control. Yeah, like you've smelled something bad. Like that's what it specifically said. Making yourself cough can knock you out of it sometimes. Like because you're physically like waking yourself up. Or clenching and unclenching your fists. So if you keep doing that like over and over again, think of it like when your leg or foot falls asleep, you kind of move it around and like get the blood going again. I wonder almost if it's something along the lines of like waking it back up again. Now, for some history on sleep paralysis. According to an article on Vice.com, Dr. S.A. Kinnear Wilson coined the term in a 1928 edition of the medical journal Brain. There's just a medical journal called Brain.
Hell yeah.
But it was coined in 1928. Brain. Which I think is cool because...
Yeah, that's farther than I expected.
Well, it goes back even further than that.
Oh.
Yeah, wild. Though writings about sleep paralysis have been found in 17th century, they've been also found as far back as medieval Persia, ancient Greece, and even 400 BCE in China.
Whoa.
Yeah. 400 BCE. Sleep paralysis is as old as fear itself. Like, the article I was reading said, I wouldn't be surprised if there was a cave painting of some little red being sitting on a caveman somewhere, like, like scaring him in the true form of sleep paralysis.
Yeah.
A painting that's titled The Nightmare by Henry Fuseli. I think Fuseli. I think it's Fuseli.
Okay. Because
I listened to two different people say it, and they spoke a different language than me, and I want to say it correctly, but
Gotcha.
I think it's Fuseli. Is believed to depict a case of sleep paralysis, and it's the one where a woman's like off the side of a bed and there's a demon or like a creature on her chest.
Yeah.
So people believe that that's supposed to be depicting sleep paralysis because she can't move, and that little demon's like,
yeah.
So he was known. He was known as being like really interested in like science, and he knew a lot of doctors and scientists, and he was interested in the science of sleep. So they think that that may be a painting that had something to do with that. Now, many other people believe that stories of alien abductions, as we said, and other paranormal events are actually instances of sleep paralysis, and I think that's fair.
Yeah.
I think that that's true. And culture also plays a role in how sleep paralysis affects a person. So, for instance, PBS gives examples of differences in sleep paralysis between people in Denmark and Egypt. So the Danes brush the episodes off as trivial, while in Egypt there's a fear of death due to sleep paralysis. Because of this fear, they experience longer, more intense, and cyclical episodes.
That's wild.
Because they're more afraid of it.
Yeah.
And ultimately, studies showed that those in Cairo were 3 times more likely to experience sleep paralysis than those in Copenhagen. Whoa. Because the Danes are like, whatever, it's just a thing. Who cares?
Yeah.
And in Egypt, they're like, oh, God, I'm going to die. And which makes it so much worse.
Huh.
In the Caribbean, there's the myth of Kokoma, where the souls of dead, unbaptized babies wander around and smother people in their sleep.
Alrighty.
Which is terrible.
Not what the song Kokomo is about. A very different take.
Just a little different. Yeah. A little different. Come on, baby, why don't we go down to Kokomo?
Oh, no.
We'll get there fast and you can kill them slow. That's where I want to go. So the good news is, rarely is sleep paralysis linked to deep underlying psychiatric problems. The bad news is, like we said, there's not really any specific treatment. So those who experience it often don't really have a way of getting past it. Now, if you suffer from sleep paralysis, here are some of the methods that sufferers of the condition have suggested, besides the ones that we said a second ago.
Okay.
Don't fall asleep on your back. Studies have associated episodes of sleep paralysis with lying on one's back when they go to sleep. Also with sleep apnea. You can also, like a lot of people that have narcolepsy or sleep apnea fall asleep on their backs, and that can affect them.
Good. I literally never fall asleep on my back.
Trying to ensure on a regular basis your sleep will not be disrupted, since repeatedly waking up during the night has been flagged as a potential risk factor. I don't know how I haven't had sleep paralysis yet.
Like, you just mean all the tics?
Yeah, like all of the things that says don't do this because you could have it.
Yeah.
And these things like waking up throughout the night and sleeping on your back and drinking alcohol and check. How do I not have sleep paralysis?
Yeah.
I mean, not that I want it, like keep it away from me, but how?
It's a medical mystery.
Yeah, my whole life. Avoiding overuse of stimulants such as tobacco and alcohol. Coffee, surprisingly, has not been deemed risky. In this context, though the evidence that these affect the chances of experiencing sleep paralysis is mixed. Yes, it causes it. No, it doesn't.
Right.
Just with everything else in sleep paralysis, we don't really know.
Yeah.
Learning meditation and muscle relaxation techniques could help you better cope with the experience. And persisting the attempt to move the extremities, such as your fingers or toes. So, like, they tell you don't do it, but, like, a little wiggle probably isn't too bad. Now, consider seeing your doctor if you experience sleep paralysis regularly. If you feel anxiety about going to sleep, if you have narcolepsy or symptoms of it, or if you feel that it's impacting your life negatively. Like, if it's affecting you, go to a doctor. Yeah. See them. Like, maybe they prescribe you an antidepressant, but maybe you can finally get some sleep, you know?
Right.
Like,
it's worth it.
Better would outweigh the worst.
Yeah.
Now, in conclusion, there's a video that I watched on YouTube it's only about 3 minutes long, and it's by Great Big Story, and it's called Sleep Paralysis: A Waking Nightmare. And it tells the story of a few people who tell their own experiences with sleep paralysis in their own words. And it's kind of spooky, but it's really cool because it's like, I was laying there on my back and a woman appeared above me. And I closed my eyes and opened them back up and she was right in my face. Like, it's really creepy, but it's really kind of cool. Like, cool. I like stuff like this that's kind of really weird.
You do?
I know. Hey, we didn't talk too much about death.
That's true. There wasn't that much death talk.
I mean, you could die of not going to sleep. I did Google, can sleep paralysis kill you? And in Cairo, they think it can. But as far as I know, nobody's died due to sleep paralysis. But I'm sure people have died due to sleepwalking.
Oh, sure.
Like walking out in the traffic and stuff like that.
Yeah, off a bridge.
Yeah, I'm sure that's happened.
Taking a sleep on a bridge and then you walk off it.
Oh, man. There was a movie about a guy who sleepwalked everywhere. Or maybe it's a cartoon.
Mr. Magoo? No.
He's just blind.
Oh, right.
That's probably some Warner Brothers cartoon of...
Yeah, no, I know what you're talking about. I thought it was Mr. Magoo, but I guess you're right.
In my brain, I'm thinking of it, it's like... It's on a construction site.
Mm-hmm. And he walks on the spinning...
And there's on a spinning thing, and his arms are outstretched in front of him, because he's sleepwalking like this, like a zombie.
I've seen that too, and I don't know what it is.
And then they would go up, and he steps off of it and lands on this one that's also coming up, and I don't know what it is. It's like a goofy cartoon or something.
Yeah, if somebody knows what it is, let us know.
Yeah, it's something like that. It's going to drive me crazy, and I'm going to have sleep paralysis about it tonight, so...
Yeah, it's just like... I'm just thinking of like the rotating I-beam as he's like walking around on it.
Yeah, that's maybe... Oh, man. And now I'm thinking that it's something along the lines of, like, Popeye or...
Popeye does sound very right time for me in my head.
Yeah, something like Black and White or something-ish.
Steamboat Willie era.
Yeah, something like that.
That was well, hold on.
I'm sorry, I was going to end it.
That was really informal. I want to tell you good job you did.
Oh, thank you.
That was a great sentence. No, I like I said, I think I knew the least about this topic of any topic you've brought to the table.
Cool.
And I learned a whole shit ton.
It's spooky.
And I also learned that a lot of stuff happens in people's sleep that does not happen to me, and I'm very lucky for that, I guess.
Oh, you know what's going to happen is we're going to get sleep paralysis now.
Oh, instantly. Yeah, of course. Absolutely. 100%.
If I get sleep paralysis, I'm not going to work tomorrow. I'm not going to work ever again.
That's it for my career.
That's it. I'm done. If I get sleep paralysis after talking about sleep paralysis for an hour...
You are a witch at that point.
Oh my god! What if that's what saved me?
Oh, you have a witchly aura that has protected you from the seven realms.
My witchly aura has protected me. Dorm, where can people find you?
Twitch.tv/dormstreams, where can people find you?
Twitch.tv/Team Lidi.
We're also on Twitter.
We also have these cool shirts.
Yeah, look at that cool shirt.
Look at it. Click to learn more.
That's our logo.
This is our logo. This is our show. You're listening to it right now.
Or watching it. Or
both.
It'd be funny if you were watching it and not listening to it, I guess.
Oh my god, what if somebody turns our video on and turns the audio down and just makes us say stupid stuff? We're like different voices.
We already do that enough.
I'm an idiot too. Like, yeah, we just did it.
You really nailed me. That sounded just like me.
It was me doing both of me twice. It was me practicing the podcast before you.
Right, yeah.
Over.
Sometimes I'll just come home and Lidi's in
I'm just
my
here
office
doing the podcast.
She's talking to herself. No camera, no mics.
Oh my god, that's terrifying.
She just switches chairs. Talks to herself all the time.
That's so scary.
We're also on Instagram.
Twitter.
Oh, I already said that one.
Ah, dang it. Hold on. And Snapchat.
We have Discords.
We have Discords. Dorman's got a Patreon.
I do.
Go be a patron.
Yeah, patronize me. That's actually good.
Ding!
I might actually use that.
Little light bulb.
That's pretty good.
You
heard it here first.
It's about to be October.
Yes.
And we're gonna have a couple weeks in October, and I want to talk about some spooky stuff.
And I'll talk. All right, I did football. Shit. What else happens in October that's fun? That's not scary.
Oh, you can talk about whatever you want, but I'm gonna talk about scary stuff.
Okay. Cool. So it's unlike any, or it's the same as the regular.
Yeah, it's not any different.
It's gonna
give me more reason to get worse on stuff that I already talked about. So, cool. Murder.
Yeah.
This had a surprisingly small amount of murder in it.
It did. Maybe your least murderful episode. Lipstick might have been less murder. We talked about death.
I know which one has the least amount of murder.
Waterbears?
Yep. Waterbears has the least amount of murder. Then probably Lipstick because it's like a passing comment.
Yeah.
And then probably Jack the Ripper.
High heels. Yeah, of course, Jack the Ripper.
Until next time.
Be careful where you click.